Hey YouTubers, what's up? Today is Sunday afternoon and I was looking for a fun project to do this afternoon, and last night while hanging out on YouTube I found these really cool videos by artist Curtis Benzel, and he's doing some things with porcelain, doing a millefiori technique, and his pieces are gorgeous. Okay, so we're going to try out my own version of that and see how it comes out today. I have 8 pieces of porcelain to make 8 colors. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the first porcelain cube, put it in a container, and then I have this blue mason stain, and we'll start with the lightest and go forward. So I'm just going to measure out some stain. And this is, not real accurate measurement, but it'll help to the first mark. Put that in there and set that aside. Put in the next one. And these cubes are about the same amount of clay. Again, they're not measured perfectly either. I'm going to keep doing this, using these little lines to help me measure. This time, I'm ready to go up 2 lines. Put in the stain, set that aside, do the next one. Okay, so I'm on my last piece of clay, and this one will be the darkest. It'll have the most stain in it. So the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to mix the stain into the porcelain so I can have the 8 different shades. Okay, so we're done mixing now. We have our pieces of clay from dark to light. The next thing we're going to do is take each piece and flatten them into pancakes. Okay, so we've done that, and we're going to just stack them on top of each other, again from dark to light. Okay, so I have no idea if this is going to work or not, but we're going to give it a shot. I've got that into a square shape. Okay, so let's figure out what to do next. Okay, so I have this coil now, and I've made it into a square because that's the shape that I want the individual pieces to be. This one, same thing. I'm going to cut the ends off of it, and then I'm just going to cut this into a few different pieces just to make it easier to manage. These didn't really come out exactly in gradation, but they still make an interesting pattern even if they're not exactly gradated. And to me, I'm fine with that, especially being the very first time I've ever tried this. Okay, so I'm ready now to take these pieces and start cutting them into little pieces and working them together. So let's do that next. Okay, so I've cut all these coils into little pieces now, and I'm going to start piecing them together to make a slab. And I'm just going to start putting those pieces next to each other, paying attention to, like here I have dark to dark and then light on the outside. So I might, if I want to have the light to the dark, then I might turn that one in and put that one next to it like that. So now I have the dark all on the end and then the light on the outside. And I'm not going to worry too much about the gaps in between because these are thick enough that when I roll them, I think those gaps will close. Some of the squares came out checkered like this. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up, but came out kind of a checkered design. Some of them, depending on which coil I cut from, came out like this with a light to dark design. And then some of them, for whatever reason, came out like this with the dark inside and then the light on the very middle and then on the outside. And I'm sure the camera's not going to pick this up, but I can see little gradations of color So that's pretty cool. So I've got lots of different designs and things to work with, and I'm just going to start piecing this together, kind of like a quilt or something, just piecing them together. And then when I've done that, I'm going to roll them out with a rolling pin to make the slab to do at that point whatever I want to with. And in this situation, I'm going to use it as part of a slump mold. So alright, so then the next step is to piece all the pieces together. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so we've cut all of our pieces and laid them out. We're going to put a cloth on the top, wipe that down, and gently use a roller. Try to roll that together, and we don't want to press too hard because we don't want to lose our design, but at the same time, if we don't press hard enough, the pieces won't stick together. Okay, we've been rolling this for a while, so okay, very cool. So here's our slab now that we've connected those pieces and rolled them together. I really like the pattern I'm seeing right in here. You can see that was the dark to light little squares that I connected together, so that made a real unique pattern. That same pattern is going on up in here. And this is, this slab is pretty random because I just kind of put the pieces together. But I think you can easily see that if you were very careful with how you placed the individual slices, that you could make the pattern into whatever you wanted it to be. You could have a light to dark line, you could zigzag it or swirl stuff together. You could do lots of different things. This is the first time I've ever tried this technique, and so I'm just playing with it. So maybe the next time I do one of these, I'll try to be a little bit more methodical in how I place the pattern and putting together the colored squares of clay and that kind of stuff. But for now, this is cool. So now I have a thin slab that I can use to make into something, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to slump this over a rubber ball and throw a foot to attach to it to kind of make a free-form vessel. So the next step then would be to apply it to the ball. So we'll do that now. Okay, so here we have our rubber ball, and we're just going to lay our slab on top of the rubber ball to give it a free form. Before I do that, I hate to lose too much of the slab, but I would like to put it into a shape that's not quite so square. Okay, I've cut this into kind of an arch here and here, just to give it a little bit more of a rounded shape to kind of match the curve that it will be when we put it on the ball. So I'm going to turn it upside down and just gently take that off, like that, that. Okay, cool. So I'm going to pat that down. So we're going to lay that on the ball, like that, and you can see, wow, isn't that cool, the patterns there? Okay, and so I'm just kind of roughing it up so I don't have that smooth, or that straight edge from where I cut. And I do want the ends to match somewhat. So since this end extends out and this one's a little bit more even, I'm just going to gently cut. Also want to make sure I don't cut through to the rubber ball either. There we go. Peel that off. And then same thing, just kind of rough that up so it doesn't appear so chopped. I will let this dry a bit. We'll remove it from the ball, fire it, clear coat it, and see what it looks like. I will keep you up to date on its progress, so be looking for that from a future video. Alright, adios YouTubers.